Simulation will never replace real-world racing, and I don't want it to.
Full Send Sims provides custom-built, top-notch simulators from whatever your budget is. We want to find the best fit for you.
We build rigs for pro drivers where we go and measure their cars, every measurement one-to-one down to the millimeter. You can drive these sims and certify basically to race a car in the real world. Matter of fact, this weekend we have 2 guys that work with FSS that have strictly been sim racing for the last 5 years.
Absolutely did not think a year ago I'd be driving a race car this weekend. However, getting into the simulator, I think it really helped me get on the track and stay competitive.
I've been a sim racing instructor for about 2 years now. The benefit of working with me as a race coach, I'll get you to be a better driver, a lot faster, with a lot less mistakes than you could doing it on your own.
We take the sim building and the sim training as serious as possible. It's not a video game, it's a training tool.
Full Send Sims will offer fully custom-built rigs hand-delivered and installed into your own home and constant online service. What we offer is world-class, top-notch racing built by a community of racers who enjoy passionate, clean racing.
SMX Racing from Daytona. It's time for the high banks. It's January, and though next weekend is the next Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, tonight we go racing with a field of 25 SMX drivers in the Full Send Sims SMX Series. Hi everybody, Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney and DeCuna tonight as Greg Creamer's out. We're wishing him a quick and speedy recovery after some work he got done. So we're really excited to have him back in the next couple of weeks. But Finney, welcome aboard. Every time you head to Daytona, every time you leave here with the trophy, it is a special place. It's no different in the sim racing world.
It absolutely is no different, and well, for these drivers, I'm not sure if they're already sick of Daytona after running it in the iRacing Daytona 24 over the last couple of weeks with all the practice sessions, of course, the 24-hour hours of racing on-track action. But these guys are back at the high banks again in a much slower car. And that's going to lead for some entertaining racing. It's going to be all about the slipstreaming all around this track with how big it is. The course is designed for prototypes and GTs for a much slower SMX machinery. And I think that's just going to put on a fantastic race for these guys.
You bring up the slipstreaming. That was a huge topic of discussion last week out at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, how much stronger the draft was for these drivers as opposed to the last season when these cars ran in SM trim. Of course, the SM Series continues in the background, but the SMX Series is what is being broadcast here this season. So far, we've had a couple of rounds. Current point standings here. As we come into this third round, we've had one event where we were absent a Camden Hibbett. We had one event where we were absent a Morgan Burkhardt, but Beans Forster leads the way over Nicholas Rice-Buto and Skip Brock Jr. 1, 2, 3. So it's been a really good, solid start for Beans. Only 7th, though, in qualifying with 7 minutes left on the board.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get out there. And, of course, it takes a while to get warmed up. And these guys are looking at just over 2 minutes a lap, so he's going to get out there. And then also a key thing, too, is also find someone to slipstream off him, because that's really what's going to make or break the lap.
And we'll get to watch his heart rate as we have in weeks past. We saw up to 140, 150 BPM from Beans as he was in the heat of battle. And we also got to see something similar with Camden Hibbett. He has also given us a look at his heart rate. It was considerably lower than Beans, which was a topic of discussion in the post-race interviews. He is cool as a cucumber out there in line in that number 132. Sits 4th in the championship standings.
Yeah, some people some people are a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed. That's their normal. Some people they operate better under pressure. So just seeing the two sides of the coin there. Of course, we'll see when it really gets down to it and you start to get really side by side. You may see the heart rate peak up just a little bit more.
So So qualifying is happening right now. Looks like lap times in the high 210s, low 211s for the front runners at least. The slipstream will be a huge, huge topic of discussion and just staying out of trouble. Every time we come to Daytona, I always point out this corner. This is turn one. You know, you call it one corner, but you kind of treat it like two with that first little apex there, kind of center screen it in the bottom right of your screen. That's really where you tuck it in past the pit wall. And things get dicey down here on race starts. It's flat. There's not a lot of camber. You've got 2 and 3 wide. We see a lot of trouble there. And then as you head down to the International Horseshoe, there's that quick little right-left flick that also kind of condenses the racing lanes down. So just staying out of trouble on the opening lap is always a topic of discussion.
Yeah, especially that horseshoe is a much deeper braking zone, so you really start to see where guys are really going to potentially throw a pass up the inside, make some moves. It's also where we typically see, if we don't see issues entering turn one, it's usually where we see as the next problem spot is see Bryce Fielder come across the line. I don't think he set a lap that previous go-around. He did not. He's warming up for one final go-around with just about 5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, we'll ride on board with him here through this lap as we head down to the International Horseshoe. See the pit exit there on the left. We won't have to contend with a lot of drivers leaving that mid-race, but kind of braking sort of center track here. Use that curb on the inside to shorten things up. Track out, and then in this next section is high-speed left-hand kink. In a prototype, I bet it was pretty scary last week in the iRacing 24 at full throttle. Easy flat, though, in an SMX.
Yeah, no concerns, no issues for him there. And then going to the second horseshoe here, deep on the brakes. Similar to the first, slightly different characteristics, especially with the way you enter much earlier turn in and then come out on the exit onto the curbs, and then you're heading back into the final braking zone before you head back onto the oval.
Yeah, this is turn 6. Cut that as much as you can. Get back on throttle as early as you possibly can. Such a long straightaway. This banking, it might be curved, but this is effectively straight in an SMX. And this is where your drafting games really begin as you climb up the banking here at Daytona International Speedway. We're going to see top speeds in the mid-120s, I think. We might see 130 at the end of the front straight, but then into the bus stop, the Le Mans chicane as they call it nowadays. At least here in iRacing, it's not completely paved over yet, so it makes the sight lines a little easier to see. But this is a great passing opportunity, but it can get really narrow.
Don't get me started on the fact that they completely ruined the chicane by taking the grass off of it. But as he works his way through, much easier to see in the sim, as you mentioned, with the grass. Can't even imagine how hard it is for the actual drivers to see on Daytona as it is currently, where it's just completely concrete all the way down there, and you have to kind of spot the curbs when you're flying there at nearly 200 miles an hour on a prototype.
And then out of NASCAR turn 4, you're full throttle all the way back around to turn 1. And this section, heading into the tri-oval, this is where we're going to see drivers vying for victory. I imagine that this will be old-fashioned Miata-style racing at Daytona, where you wait to the very end to pop out of line. Camden Hibbett might give us a look at it right now, all the way to the stripe, and he would have won that race. And he didn't make that move until about 100 yards before the start-finish line.
And that was a great look at the closing rate we're dealing with. It's pretty big, and depending on the run, it's all going to depend on the run these drivers get way in the back, on the back side of the track on the Le Mans chicane. And you can see right here where he just comes from way, way back, but that's how powerful the slipstream is.
Yeah, I mean, right here, he's at the pit entry. He's not even within a car length yet. He gets to the restart zone lines, and then he pulls overlap just a couple hundred feet before and still got to the line first. That's what we're contending with tonight. How do you reverse engineer that if you're the race leader? Because someone will be leading this race leaving that bus stop. So how are you going to back him up? What's the strategy there? You could see a winner from a long ways back if they start playing games like that.
And that's going to just show how key it is to being in the lead group. Not necessarily the leader of the leading group, just in that leading group of drivers, because obviously one has the chance to win, you're going to be somewhat close to the front, but with how much slipstream there is available, you know, depending on how many people are in that group, you maybe want to be up near the front, maybe second, maybe third. I don't think you necessarily want to be the leader, as we saw right there. Looking at Josh Soto in the 77, has not put a lap time down.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's on a flying lap.
I think he is, but he did miss out on our opening round and was present at Mossport, 16th in race 2, 5th in race 1, but he started on pole for, that was pole for the first race, and it was 16th in race 2. So, you know, he has a lot of speed. He's buried in the standings because he missed that first round, but he's going to be buried in the standings for the start of this race if this doesn't put him on the board this lap. So you have to keep all 4 tires on the road here and get back to the stripe in the next minute and 16 seconds. I don't know that he'll do that.
I think he should be able to, because it is a flying lap down to the chicane. Well, actually, as I look at it, this is actually a warm-up lap, so he is not going to have a chance.
So he'll start at the tail of the field. He's going to have some work to do. If there was any place to have work to do, I would say Daytona is a good place to do it. There's Celine Roland, a name synonymous with racing these kinds of cars here at this track in particular. I haven't really kept up with it. Has the MX-5s haven't raced yet, right, this week?
I don't think they have, actually. No, I'm pretty sure they haven't yet.
Because I can never remember if that happens on the Roar weekend or before the 24, but I think it's before the 24. It's like the Thursday and the Friday, I think.
That's what I would think, too, but I could very well be wrong because I also have not been following it a lot. I just came from out of state. I was in Las Vegas and in Arizona.
Yeah, there was a short period where about a bunch of Grid Life employees were being considered to go down to Daytona, but that ended up turning into, well, we won't house you, but we'll get you a ticket, and then that quickly turned into nobody was going. So
they are racing, or at least their weekend, according to the actual official website, starts tomorrow to the 24th.
Got it. So they'll be done by Friday. All right, well, we've got qualifying complete. It's going to be I have James Newell on pole over Hayden Manis. That's a strong effort there by those two. Talk more about that here in just a moment's time. We are gridding. Let's talk briefly about our sponsors and the partners and people that make this happen. Of course, Full Send Sims and Court Schmidt. Full Send Sims practice makes podium turnkey custom racing simulators for any application. Doesn't matter if you're trying to simulate an open wheel car or a tin top. They have got it all for you from the man himself, Court Schmidt, who used to design military simulators. So you know he's got attention to detail and plenty of experience in the field. 3P Logistics and their trackside support. Frank Rodriguez has put this together, and they've been a partner with the Full Send Sims SMX Series since day number one. Final Turn Motorsports as well, a great prep shop that can help you with all your racing needs. And Wine Country Motorsports has joined us in more recent seasons. Race gear and equipment, they pick up the phone when their online competitors do not. And as of last season, FARA has joined us, the racing series. It's based out of the Florida area, but they've expanded nationwide this year. They've got a race up here in Joliet at Audubon Country Club this season, so check out FARA. They've got a really interesting spectating model as well, so make sure you check them out if you're interested in racing or spectating any of their categories in 2025. Head down to the racetrack here, take a look at the weather information. It's a nice day down in Daytona Beach. 68 Fahrenheit air, 75 degrees Fahrenheit track temp. It is 0 degrees in Chicago right now. Finning, where is it by you?
It is about 10 or 12, 18 actually at the moment, but the wind is pretty bad, so it feels closer to like 10, I want to say. Feels like 6 according to my forecast.
I posted this on my Instagram story, but I was getting off the highway and pulled up at the traffic light behind a car with a Hawaii license plate. And I was like, go home. What are you doing here?
Far, far away from home. This has got to be a story with that. Having a car with a Hawaii plate.
Yeah, I would hope. There's Andrew Gilliland. He's got his past award behind him. He's ready to go racing tonight. He's going to roll off in 12th place very quickly. Starting lineup here, James Newell, Hayden Manis are going to be on the front row, followed by Camden Hibbett, Nicholas Rice-Puto in 3rd and 4th. Skip Brock Jr., Gianni Morrow 5th and 6th. Then Elliot Burton and Beans Forster are going to round out your 4th row. That is Celine Roland and Dylan Lee sharing row number 5. Bob Muller Jr., Andrew Gilliland in 11th and 12th. Deacon Greenfield and Court Schmidt in row number 7. Henry Drury joins us out of the Toyota GR Cup Series. Tonight he starts 15th. Stephen Blethen in 16th. Then Seth Spolman, Murphy Nichols 17th and 18th. And Jim Friedhofer, Raymond Blethen, Joshua Clatterbuck, Andrew Gallardo. In the last couple of rows, Arif Aziz, Wayne Buttermore, and Josh Soto bringing up the rear of the field. It's time to go racing from Daytona. It's High Banks week here in motorsports, and no less for the Full Send Sims SMX Series. Going green from Florida. Green flag in the FSS SMX Series. Three wide already. That's the 18 of Gianni Morrow that is in the middle of the Hornet's Nest as they head through turn number 1. So far, so good. Can we make it through the kink on the opening lap?
Oh, almost. See someone around Bean Forster in the grass. He's thinking he's in the rallycross configuration, trying to hang on. He got punted out sideways. There's still 3 wide up there, and actually hitting doors up through up through the hairpin for the first time. Dylan Lee was in the middle of all that. He's still fighting hard for position.
I think we've kept them all generally the right direction. Hayden Manis leads the way over pole sitter James Newell. Camden Hibbett has settled into third. Of course, we're missing Morgan Burkhardt here this week because of his commitments in the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series. Really excited about those opportunities, but it will pull him out of this week's events. Side by side there, that is, one of them is the 6 of Elliott Burton. He's got Dylan Lee to the outside and Andrew Gilliland in that 91 to the inside.
Dylan Lee is still dirt tracking. He's made contact with about 3 different cars in the infield already, and it's sliding out of every single corner. Still somewhat getting it sorted, as he looks like he's going to pull in behind the 87 there on screen and secure himself in 10th.
Celine Roland that he's going to follow. It's a good guy to follow here. Again, 2 20-minute races. It's about 10 laps worth of action here at Daytona. Camden Hibbett's looking for second place. Newell goes defensive towards the Le Mans chicane, and I will call it that. It's a professional.
And we're going to go side by side as well up near the front. It looks like they're trying to figure out which order you want to go through. Should I go? Should you go? Should I go? Should you go? And they finally figured out an order. And off they go, mostly single file, everyone making it through there as well.
I always say with things like the Le Mans chicane, and it looks like Murphy Nichols got himself a slowdown, and things like the bus stop at Watkins Glen, for example, it's not a corner that you can really race through. You race to it. So you can't necessarily go through there side by side and make any kind of speed. Rice Budo and Hibbett, they look like they're kind of trioing up there with Skip Brock Jr. And look at the run they're building.
Yeah, it looks like stock car racing there with the way they're forming in line on the outside, taking the charge all the way around. I'm just amazed by the amount of overhead they get and go flying off side by side. Ooh, some contact there. Still side by side with Hibbett and Manis into turn 1. Hibbett wants it. Manis trying to defend.
Yeah, Manis is going to be fighting a losing battle, though, this next horseshoe. It's a long way around, 180-degree turn. So the outside is the longer way around, and Newell's going to tuck underneath Manis and probably try to wrestle second as there's trouble behind. It's Gilliland.
Around, off of the nose. I want to say that was who we were looking at before, Roland.
Roland. Yeah, we'll get a look at it here in a moment. There is a battle for the lead still side by side through the kink. Even in an SMX, they can make that exciting, huh?
Yeah, I'd say these guys are going to be exhausted after this one race is over. It's still got some more racing left after. As Hibbett will just slide out in front. Manis has still got the run off the corner heading towards turn 6. He still wants. These guys have been nearly side by side the entire infield.
Yeah, they're going to continue to do that until Manis pushes Hibbett a little bit wide, and Newell's going to take advantage of that, tuck to the inside for the run up to the banking.
And he got bullied out of that position. And it looks like Hibbett's finally going to settle in line in third. Taking a look back at what happened heading to the first horseshoe.
It looked like Selena sort of turned in and just sort of chopped across Gilliland here. Watch
yeah, it
the
didn't
red
look
car.
didn't look like there was anywhere for him to really go. Yeah, I mean that's about as tucked in as you could be.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the goal there was with that, but it just maybe just trying to battle for the lead into the bus stop. How about that?
Yeah, got it. Still side by side before.
And now Rice Budo's going to have a massive run here off the bumper of Skip Brock Jr. And how much leapfrog do you play? I mean, it's not very fun to sit around and ride third the whole time, so I imagine they'll go for it here.
I was going to say what the way they are slipstreaming with each other, it seems to be so easy that they get such a big run. You might as well go for it and just kind of see what works out because it's not that big of a cost to not do it. And also give yourself a couple of bump drafts here and there. And here they go side by side to the line. Photo finish. Well, what would have been there? 24 thousandths of a second separating the leaders.
Oh man, Rice Budo really sent it in on the outside, and it's going to open the door for Skip Brock up the middle. They got to watch out for Hibbett, and Court Schmidt had a little contact there. He gets shoved a little wide.
Oh, and they go 3 wide into the S's. That gets very sketchy as the 132 of Hibbett had to take the grass and the sand on the left-hand side, and he's still 3 wide.
And Beans Forster, you see out the window there, you see that 2 car of Dylan Lee. Easy to spot with the checkerboard pattern there. And look at the heart rate, max of 161 BPM, and we're only 6 minutes into this race.
I bet that's when he was sliding through the grass on the opening lap. It was him trying to wrestle that car back under control. But it's still intense out there in front of him. That's why the heart rate is high. Oh, and a little bit of contact there from Lee to Gianni Maioro in the 18 machine, and it kind of trickled on back, domino effect.
You know, I honestly was expecting the heart rates to be a little lower at this event because it feels like you have so much time to take a breath on the straightaways, but there's so much action and so much jockeying that I think there's just a lot of decision making that's going on that's just keeping these drivers on their toes.
Yeah, I think so as well. Deacon Greenfield, I see slowing down a little bit. Not sure if he had to slow down or if he's strategically letting drivers on by.
Stephen Blethyn tucking him back behind Andrew Gilliland. Now Gilliland has gotten back rolling and is still sort of in drafting distance of cars ahead, so I don't think he's completely out of things as leaders are going to try side by side again. Manis leads into the bus stop.
Yeah, everyone is still loosely connected to each other. The field's a little bit strung out up to around 22nd, 23rd. So you could theoretically come back at it, especially with how effective the slipstream is. You can kind of just leapfrog and hit the foot to the floor.
Yeah, loosely connected is a great way to describe it. It's like everyone's still sort of in a drafting chain, but it's not necessarily all packed tight together. But what will keep it that way is this.
If everyone's attempting to make a move, Manis now on the charge, and hello, Skip Brock Jr. going down below the line. And I believe that is legal.
We'll find out.
I thought that might be only legal on the last lap.
Oh boy, he's and hot into turn one. He's going to ride the rumbles.
He's really using all the racetrack.
Yeah, maybe too much of it. I bet you that Daytona didn't consider the grass to be part of it.
Is that why they tore it up?
That's why they have the design contest every year to, you know, to mow in the design that they're all going to just do burnouts through anyway. Rice Pudo really in the thick of things here between Skip Brock Jr. and Manis. And James Newell's dropped to fourth. And this is how quickly it happens. I don't remember James Newell getting really past once. And here he is P4. It's just how quickly and how quietly you can disappear if you're not absolutely on it. And I think just you have to keep your regression level up. And we pointed out, like, why would you sit in line in third? Because quickly sitting in line in third is going to be ninth because everyone else will be leapfrogging around you.
Yeah, and there's so many cars. There's 10 cars in the leading group at the moment. Then it's about another second and a half back to Bob Mueller Jr., then Deacon Greenfield in 11th and 12th. So the top 10 is kind of who we got to work with now. The winner should be coming out of there, but they're all so close together. And like you mentioned, you want to kind of stay near the front, obviously not all the way near the front because it's just going to keep cycling on through. As you see another freight train moving, Rice Pudo and Manis now past Skip Brock Jr., and they get past before they get to the break zone.
Yeah, really, I think so much of the tail end of this race revolves around what happens down here. We know that you can make a pass in the last 150 feet of the racetrack, but how you set up the run through the bus stop, we talk about this until we're blue in the face. Every time you come here in a momentum car, you talk about the bus stop, but, you know, you can back up the field and they will avoid this massive run that we're going to watch Hayden Manis and Skip Brock Jr. build. But if you do that, then the run is just going to come from deeper in the field. It could be 7th, 8th, 9th that do this and still manage to win.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the leader, whoever it's going to be, because it's pretty much a flip of the coin at this point, because we have no idea who's going to be the leader on the last lap. What they're going to try to do to kind of prevent something like that happening, because it's so easy to get freight trained, but they need to come up with some defensive strategy, and it's really hard to do so when everyone's got such a big amount of momentum as they all flake out into turn one.
Yeah, Gianni Morrow was really late on the brakes. We saw him kind of wobbling on the ABS, trying to woe things down to not get into the back of Rice Pudo. James Newell caught up back here. There's Beans Forster right in the thick of it and just trying to figure out how to move forward. You just run into the problem of it's like you're trying to move boxes in a really small room and there's a whole bunch of other boxes in there. It's like you have to move 3 boxes to get to the one that you want. And it's the same thing with passing cars at Daytona. It's like you got to move 3 other guys just to get to the spot that you want.
Speaking of moving, can we talk about Josh Rossoto, who's been quietly hanging out the very tail end of the field. Remember, he started way back in 25th, wasn't able to get a time in, so he's done fantastic run through the field. He's gotten up to the top 10 in less than half the amount of laps available for what we're projected to have as we just tick over to halfway on time.
Great point, because as I mentioned that James Newell found himself 4th, well, he's quietly found himself 6th, but the reverse is true as well, where you can quietly make your way forward without really being discovered until you pop out of line in that front trio on the last lap. So there is definitely some anonymity when there's so much going on.
Yeah, so he's lined up pretty good, and I think he's been kind of quiet the last couple laps I've been watching him. I think he's kind of trying to eye up and see where he can maybe make a move and just kind of hang out, maybe see if there's any wrecks or that happened from some miscommunication, because that could very well still happen. They almost just saw one with Mayaro and Forster heading into the Le Mans chicane. Now, they actually lost a little bit of time to the top three. A little bit of a breakaway up front.
Just always like watching this bus stop exit to see if anybody gets caught up with a slowdown. I think that is Arif Aziz, perhaps, that got caught.
Whoa! Some flake out there for a second.
James Newell, middle
Morrow.
3 wide.
Morrow got put out of line in the 18.
Looks like he is serving a slowdown, or is that just because he got, slowdown, got the brake lights on?
Jumped to the brakes. I think he was trying to slow down a little bit, then he had some contact with, I think, Hibbett from behind.
He's stopping. Might have gotten flagged for a penalty, but...
Yeah, right there was the checkup, and then he went flying over the track.
I don't know that he had a slowdown. Looked like he just kind of got checked up, and there was contact that caused some damage here. Oh, Beans had a big wiggle, and that's what set the 18 out. You see that damage on the nose. Drivers have told us in the past with this new damage model that little bit of nose damage is pretty detrimental to your straight line speed.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised he's called pull off the track and into the pits. He towed it there, so a bit surprised. I figured if he could at least stay with the slipstream and get a decent top 10 out of it. Worst case scenario.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very much fun, but yeah, some damage there. And I think that was just a matter of Beans just getting that left front tire on the transition from the banking to the apron. That's enough to really throw you off. Hey, man, it's really wide out of turn 6, but it has calmed the fire at the front for now. It goes back to 9th place Elliott Burton and Joshua Soto up to 8th. Let's keep an eye on this Colt 77.
Yeah, I think he saw the chaos and he's like, all right, now that it's settled down a little bit, now he's going to start picking off one position at a time. Slowly get himself up there here, as next time around they should have about 4 laps to go based off of what we're seeing projected.
James Newell trying to get back by Beans Forster to maintain 4th. Real late slide back onto the racing line, kind of threw the car in there.
Oh, and I think he had to back off a little bit on the exit, and that's going to cause him to lose a little bit. And now Bean Forster is all over his back bumper.
Back to a nearly resting heart rate.
This has calmed down a little bit.
Yep. Now, Camden Hibbett, let's talk about him for a second. Really quiet as of late. I find that interesting. I thought he'd be kind of wanting to dominate this race, be up at the front, but maybe he finds there to be too much risk right now with all this position swapping. He's happy just to ride until the last few laps.
Yeah, because you can argue, what's the point if he's eventually going to end up around 6th or 5th place? I mean, he could try to get up there,
and
he's going to try to get up there. Dives it in 3 wide, and he's going to get himself up to 4th, maybe 3rd, as he's going to have a move on Rasputo as well.
Yeah, something tells me that he was just waiting for an opportunity to knock. Instead of trying to force it, he'll just take advantage of when
I was going to say,
open.
the opportunity came flying through the wall like the Kool-Aid man there.
Yeah, it did. I mean, the gap just opened, and immediately there goes that black car to fill that hole. And if he can do that on the last lap, he'll win this race. Easier said than done, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the great part about that, too, I think he caught half of the pack sleeping. He's like, there's an opening, might as well.
Well, I mean, not to pick on Beans because his heart rate's back up a little bit, but you saw how calm he was, right? Like everyone's just sort of in this ride mode, and if you can take advantage of people that are just chilling, waiting and biding their time, that's the chance to pounce, not when they're looking in the rearview mirror trying to prevent it.
Speaking of a chance, Joshua Soto trying to move up one more spot, looking to the outside of Newell. We'll try to throw it out there. Dylan Lee gets into the back of Newell a little bit. Almost sent him around as they come flying back out of turn 6 and onto the banking. Not quite going to get there. Maybe some side draft. I'm not sure exactly how effective that's going to be in this machinery.
Well, these cars notoriously have a very sizable frontal area compared to the size of the car. So they do make a lot of drag. So I wouldn't imagine it would be ineffective.
It is working a little bit. More so than I would have thought.
It was actually, for those that follow Grid Life lore, that was one of the reasons why Luke McGrew got rid of his NC Miata to trade in for a Corvette for a single-class multi-make series, because the frontal area of the Miata made it hard to compete with something as slippery as a Corvette in the same category. So it makes them great to draft because they punch such a big hole in the air considering the size of the car. They got a big mouth on them, though, don't they?
They do. Perpetually smiling.
And you see the little damage that Skip Brock Jr. has on his nose. That might make him the weak locomotive in this lash up here. And same thing with Beans Forster.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. You talked about it a little bit, is that, you got to watch out for the damage, especially on the nose for these cars. And see Rasputo make a dive to the inside, and a couple others trying to make a dive.
Look at Hibbett.
Look at Soto, 4 wide. He gets hip checked, though.
Yeah, he got put in a bad spot there. I don't think he intended to be 4 wide, but they just got down to this point. Watch the 77 here. He's going to go 3 on the outside, but didn't see that Newell was already there, and he just got shuffled out.
And all that progress, he's back to 9th place.
Now we've got
still in the pack.
Bryce Puto and Hibbett. This is a classic duo, but Skip Rock Jr. doing a very nice job on the front end of this. Kind of in command at the moment.
Yeah, so going back to what I was saying before is that, you want to be careful and protect the car from any damage because, like you said, you don't want to be that weak link, especially with him in the lead. He's not going to want to be the leader. He might want to be potentially pushing someone to the line because he's got a little bit of that damage, and that's going to hurt him a lot compared to the other guys that have a clean nose.
Yeah, keep your nose clean has a real meaning here. And Beans Forster's gotten some rear end damage as well. Keep your tush clean too.
Yeah, I was going to say, his front's a little messed up, and then the rear end is completely bashed in, you can see there. And that was with the 18 of...
Gianni Morrow, I think.
Morrow, yeah.
So Manis shuffled back to 9th as the pole sitter here, coming to 2 laps to go. Next time by the stripe. So you got to start thinking if he is going to have any shot of winning this thing, he's got to start making his way back forward. Look how tight the front 5 are, though. This is when the chess match starts. We're still 5, 6, 7 miles from the end of this race, and already some jockeying here.
Burden and Forster are side by side through the Le Mans chicane, and they keep it going in the right direction, but it gets very, very on edge. You can see the heart rate going up to match it.
Even Hibbett. This is climbing up triple digits for the first time tonight, or at least it was. And look at him laying back again. He's just learning right now. What do these 2 cars together have that he doesn't? And it's a big gap, and he's going to lift there, but he knows if he carried that to the stripe, he would have been leading this race.
That's a smart thing. I was just about to say, he's testing the waters to see how effective the slipstream is that far back. Testing, because you don't want to test on the last lap, but you want to test it before to get an idea. And hello, there's a charge from someone from behind.
Yeah, James Newell's in that pink car on the outside, or on the inside. Dylan Lee on the outside. Another opportunity where, the drivers ahead are just biding their time, so it opens the door for someone to sail it down there and steal a spot or 2. Elliot Burton trying to get to the inside of Dylan Lee. Door slam shut, and he goes for a big tail wagon slide at the exit of the horseshoe.
Yeah, looks like he'll be able to save it, but will be put back in line, back to 9th as they work through the dog leg. And we're going to be kind of close on time here. I'm wondering if this may be the final lap or not.
Well, do we have the white flag? We do. It is the final lap.
Oh, it is. Okay, but yeah, it wasn't showing in the sim or anything at all otherwise, except for the guy waving it. So I wonder if the drivers realize that.
Well, they will, because the in-sim flag for the on screen for the drivers is always right, but sometimes the time estimation's off a little bit. It was close, though. This should pay more attention when we came around the stripe, but so look at what Bryce Puto and Hibbett and Newell are doing. They have left Skip Rock Jr. out to dry. They might blow by him before the bus stop even happens. And then
do you want to be the leader, though?
No, but see, Bryce Puto doesn't want to be, so you see him bail it out.
They all want to be second place, but no one wants to be first place. It's an interesting dynamic, but here we go into the chicane. It's all about the setup here.
Oh, a little wiggle there as everyone is trying to overslow to set themselves up. Manis and Lee are going to be in the ground. That's Manis' race over. And now these front 3, they have to watch out for Newell because he might be the one coming with a head of steam.
And Skip Rock Jr. going up in the middle. Bryce Puto going to give him a bit of a shove. Here comes Camden Hibbett from behind. He's looking at trying to see if he has enough of a slipstream to fan out. Here we go, out of NASCAR turn 4.
Here we come, back to the checkers. SMX race 1 from Daytona. It's going to be 3 wide for the race lead. All the way back to the stripe. Who gets there first? Here comes Newell. It won't be enough. Bryce Puto and Brock. It's going to be Nicholas Bryce Puto by a nose, then Brock, and then Hibbett, and then Newell. That was tight between those 3. Just 1/1000th between Forster and Burton for 7th. That was awful close, but Bryce Puto got it done.
Fantastic stuff there. I always love to see that chess match right at the end there.
Yeah, how about this? I mean, I thought Newell was going to have a bigger head of steam than he did. But there's your finish there. 4 cars right on top of each other. And got there without any major dramas. No crashing, screaming, kicking, or crying either, which is always good to see at the end of these things.
Yeah, it looked like Newell just didn't really get the best run out of the Le Mans chicane. I think that really messed up his run at the end. Almost came back, but Rasputin taking the win with Skip Brock Jr. in second, Hibbett in third, then Newell, Soto, Lee, Forster, Burton, Manis, and then all the way down to Roland back in 10th place.
Just make a note of who our top 3 was for our interviews later, and 11th through 20th. Here is the next group of finishers, down to Stephen Bleffen. The tail runs out the top 20. Murphy Nichols just outside the top 10 there. Court Schmidt up a bunch from where he started up to 12th. Andrew Gillen, a nice rebound for him. And there's those that ended out. The only driver that didn't finish, Gianni Morrow, with that incident damage that we saw him get out of turn 4.
Yeah, unfortunate end for his race, and actually he ended up leaving the server as well, so he's going to be completely out for race number 2, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But Andrew Gallardo and Bob Mueller Jr., they're still coming back to the stripe to finish up their race. When they do, it'll be a short transition period before our second race of the evening here for the FSS SMX Series. We learned a lot. I think the volatility of this makes it so that no one's breaking away from the pack like we used to see with the old SM configuration on these cars. We've seen races where Morgan Burkhardt was able to drive away from the field. That's not going to happen tonight. We also saw a race won or lost in the last 100 feet. So what do you do for the next 19 minutes and 30 seconds in this next race? How do you position yourself differently if you lost?
That's a fantastic question. I'm not even sure the drivers really know the answer to. It's just the fact that there's so many players involved at the end. You saw we had a group of 9 drivers heading into the chicane, and I think really the one thing we learned, definitely you need to really prioritize that exit more so than anything else. Newell he messed up the second part of the chicane and he had to give up some time, and he lost that slipstream. You know, obviously if we were at Talladega, he might have been able to catch back up, but unfortunately with the way the line is, he just didn't have enough time. Skip Brock Jr. surprisingly did well. I thought he was going to get completely freight trained, but he held his own for quite a bit.
Yeah, he really did, and with a couple minutes left here in the warm-up, we'll step away for a brief moment. Be back with race number 2 here very, very shortly.
Simulation will never replace real-world racing, and I don't want it to.
Full Send Sims provides custom-built, top-notch simulators from whatever your budget is. We want to find the best fit for you.
We build rigs for pro drivers where we go and measure their cars, every measurement one-to-one down to the millimeter. You can drive these sims and certify basically to race a car in the real world. Matter of fact, this weekend we have 2 guys that work with FSS that have strictly been sim racing for the last 5 years.
Absolutely did not think a year ago I'd be driving a race car this weekend. However, getting into the simulator, I think it really helped me get on the track and stay competitive.
I've been a sim racing instructor for about 2 years now. The benefit of working with me as a race coach, I'll get you to be a better driver, a lot faster, with a lot less mistakes than you could doing it on your own.
We take the sim building and the sim training as serious as possible. It's not a video game, it's a training tool.
Full Send Sims will offer fully custom-built rigs and delivered and installed into your own home, and constant online service. What we offer is world-class, top-notch racing, built by a community of racers who enjoy passionate, clean racing.
Back live from Daytona International Speedway in iRacing in the Full Send Sims SMX Series. Race number 2 coming up in just about 2.5 minutes. We got a great show in race number 1, Finian, but this place is a big racetrack for these cars. So a lot of drafting happening and a lot of entertaining racing. We're going to get to see the follow-up to here very, very shortly. But next week, we head to another place in Florida, to a different roval. We head to the Homestead Miami Speedway road course, and then back to Sebring. So we're keeping it all in Florida here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially because for Homestead Miami, they haven't announced which version of the track, but one of those versions of the track is going to be used for Formula E.
Oh, I thought you were talking about us. We've announced our version, but yeah, Formula E is not. Interesting.
I'm still amazed that they are coming to the Homestead Miami track of all places. That's awesome.
I learned that now, so that's cool. That's really cool. So the Homestead Miami next week. Then on February 4th, it's going to be Sebring International. Then Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's going to be our first time where we're not going to see a ton of drafting, just a little bit on that front straight. Then probably not much drafting at all when we head to Willow Springs on the 18th of February. Then Lime Rock Park then Road Atlanta, Sonoma, Mid-Ohio, Summit Point, VIR, Road America, and Watkins Glen to finish out season number 1. It's a 2-month break until season 2 where we kick things off. That one's got some fun tracks in it, like the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, Barber. We've got Pocono, the Pocono Road Course, New Hampshire Road Course is in there. Yeah, so season 2's got all sorts of fun stuff.
Oh, New Hampshire's going to be nice, especially after the art revamp for it. It looks so much better.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, really? This entire time?
No.
Wow.
Nope.
You definitely should. It actually looks like a track you may want to visit now, and doesn't look like 2008.
I'm so far out of the loop that the sewing machine completely missed me. So.
They did a great job, especially with the road course. The off-track objects look really nice. It like looks nice to drive around.
Yeah, I should at least go try to find some screenshots of it or something.
You probably should.
So that's how much I've been paying attention to. There was a point, and I'm just not in the iRacing driving phase right now. But there was a point when it was like Christmas 4 times a year, and right now it's just like, oh, that.
Yeah,
happened?
no, I've been kind of feeling it too. Yeah, it's just like, oh, really?
I haven't even driven a new Spa yet. That's how far behind I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, you're really. That's really dating yourself there. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
boy.
So, anyway, Daytona looks great. Look at the sky. It looks great.
It does look fantastic.
So
they did a great job with this track. I really hope they never update it so we have the grass on the back straightaway.
Oh
still.
boy, but they will. All right, checkered flag.
A couple years.
Checkered flag, and I think that is Stephen Blethen, who is instantly vaporized by the sands of time, and we'll head down to the racetrack here to start our second 20-minute race with the starting order set by our finishing order from race number 1. That puts a couple of drivers. There's one that's peculiar. Murphy Nichols, I thought, was 11th. So who got a penalty that put them down the order? That would have been. I thought it would have been Manis, but he must have cleared his penalty. I don't know. Because Murphy was 11th, I thought.
Murphy, no, 10th.
I don't know about that. Check graphics. I mean, if the graphics are wrong, it's also my fault, so maybe I shouldn't say that. Anyway, let's have a quick look. Left-hand side of your screen, this is going to be your starting lineup. Really impressed by Skip Brock Jr.'s performance there at the tail end of race 1. He had a nice run, and he's sitting 3rd in the standings. This has been a really strong start to the season for him. 3 of his 4 finishes have been top 10s. 2 of them have been top 5s.
Well, and he's in a great position looking for race number 2 to keep that going. I mean, he qualified 5th, so he's qualified strong here in general as well. So he can really get a solid weekend out of today if he can finish strong. Dylan Lee back in 21st.
This was the car that got penalized, and
yeah, I do see in the chat he mentioned about a black flag that he, I think, got towards the end of that race.
Yeah, probably in the bus stop. So I knew something was amiss there. But Dylan Lee back in 21st for the start. So he's got some work to do, basically what Josh Soto did in race 1. Soto rolls off 5th. He has got a big circle around him on my notes that I definitely take for this race. Got a lot of speed in that 77, a lot of aggression.
And he's made up all really the track position, so he's up there near the front.
He spent the whole last race getting here. Now he can spend this whole race doing something with it. All right, packed up, paired up, 2 dozen deep. Johnny Morrow will not start this second race. So 24 drivers going for victory in the 3rd round of the 2025 Season 1 season for the FSS SMX Series. Who wins on the high banks in race number 2? Green flag, we're underway at Daytona.
Oh, already 3 wide for the lead heading off into turn 1.
3 wide, ways back too. Let's try even 4 back there a little bit. Who's that in the middle? 55 of Murphy Nichols, and spin and slide the 91 of Gilland again. Not been his day here at Daytona.
It has not been his day. Whoa, and a car out of the grass and around.
That's Raymond Blethen.
Yeah.
And more trouble for a couple other cars sliding into that. Henry Drury, I think, he's gotten through it in that number 30, but we'll go back and look at that after things settle here at the front. Rice, Budo, Brock, Hibbett, your top 3.
Yeah, a couple cars around as well. I was just about to say before we went green that I had a feeling might see the start be a little bit more aggressive this time around, and we've already seen it with already a couple cars out of the race, but we're still fighting hard here up near the front. See Manis and Roland side by side for position. Actually, sorry, it's Manis and Burton side by side for position up near the front.
It's like the NASCAR Daytona duels. There's always one clean one and one messy one as far as race starts go here.
Oh, and 3 wide back on the oval. Almost thought I would have saw a pinch with Manis coming down, but he's just realized he's 3 wide at the last second.
Man,
and Burton will get on through.
Newell really cut Burton a break there. I mean, not that Burton was doing anything wrong, but that was just a tight squeeze that could have ended up pretty bad. So now the front runners, the front 3, have gotten sorted. Josh Soto has remained in 5th here. Looks like he's biding his time. And then Celine Roland had a look at James Newell into the bus stop, but didn't take a position.
And through the chicane, everyone goes. And for the most part, everyone made it on through.
A little push here from Manis on the back of Celine Roland.
I'm curious if we're going to see these guys be a little bit easier on the pushes, because I think with, especially near the front, quite a few guys had some nose end damage in that leading pack, so I think they may want to lay off the bumper just a little bit just to make sure it's clean to the end. Josh Soto, though, going to freight train around the outside and take the lead, heading off into turn 1. Can he secure it, though, with Raspudo still on the inside?
I think the key to being fast around here is a little stack up there. Is, I don't even know if you really want to push. I think you want to do the old-fashioned slingshot maneuver, right? But there's just not everyone can afford to do that all the time. You just put yourself in compromising position. So instead of giving up your momentum, you'd rather transfer it to the car ahead. But that transfer has to be done with a relative softness, just because of the sensitivity of the nose on the damage model, which I really wish iRacing would address, because it is far more sensitive. I mean, you can slam draft in these cars in the real world, and they'll take it pretty well.
Yeah, I was going to say they are not that aero dependent, or at least they shouldn't be as aero dependent as
they're just
they are.
Stronger than they are in iRacing, with at least in the nose. Like you can give a pretty good clout to the car ahead, and it won't do much more than momentarily wrinkle the fender. But they put nice, good old bumper bars in these things for a reason. Push. Oh boy, Court Schmidt going for a ride. He almost ended up in the tire bundles out there.
Yeah, he got really close. He said he's just saying hello to the tire bundles.
James Newell, Beans Forster. We already sort of discerned that side drafting is actually pretty effective in these cars. So much drag because of the open top. Just tight squeeze down there.
And getting a little bit of slipstream from Skip Brock up ahead, but not quite. And it's actually going to switch back to Forster as he's now up on the top side. And neither one getting up into the braking zone. And finally Newell will yield at the last second. Back to 6 for him.
Nice clean
Murphy
run.
Nichols way offline. He's got to slow down.
He's had a tough time kind of crack up into the top 10 there. Sort of gifted the 10th place after the penalty from Dylan Lee, but Dylan Lee's gotten back to 10th. He has also got to slow down to serve.
I was just about to say he's had a good recovery, but he's going to be temporarily halted as he has to yield for the slowdown.
There's so much more to lose in that bus stop than there is to gain when you're in traffic, I think. When you're on your own, you have to push, but when you're in a pack like this, I don't think there's any point in getting yourself a slowdown and losing 10 spots.
Yeah, penalty is too great in my opinion for you to do so. And here we go, 3 wide once more.
Watch the 6. He's in a bad spot here, and he's going to tag the 32.
And around he goes into Forster. Oh, and he goes up on his side into the pit wall.
And those 2 cars out just like that. And the 32 is absolutely destroyed. I think the points leader, by the way, Beans Forster, is also in relatively big trouble. He's reset back to the pits, but that 6 was in there hot. Just tagged the 32, sends him for a spin. And that will likely also pick the 6 car up a penalty post-race. So that's going to affect, every decision that you make affects your championship. It's a much longer season, 15 races, than it has been in the past, but that was your points leader that got taken out in that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think everyone was a little bit too nice. I had a feeling everyone was a little bit too nice in race 1, and now everyone's testing the waters in a little bit too much. They're going that much further into the braking zone, that much more aggressive on the turn, and we're starting to see it now with a higher attrition rate, with especially a couple big names out early on.
Yeah, Court Schmidt, look at where he's driven up into 6th after starting 11th.
Done a great job of taking advantage of the chaos to get himself up there.
Yeah, he's just on the tail end of the good draft there. Dylan Lee is out. Did we see what happened to him? Was he involved in that?
No, last time we looked at him, he had a slowdown. I think maybe recently he just reset to the pits. Huh.
Oh. Just pulled off and stopped. Not exactly sure what that's about, but either way, he's out of the race. And we've lost a handful of drivers in this one. 4, to be exact. Brock Jr., Forster, Lee, and Drury out with crash damage.
Yeah, unfortunately to see. We'll see if it's the toll is not done yet. But we can definitely tell by just looking at the leading pack, effectively only 5 cars, maybe 6 if Court Schmidt can get up there. He's just about 9/10 of a second behind. He might be able to get up there. There's some shenanigans that occur up here. Oh, and speaking of which, Newell, big run to the inside below the yellow line, which the admins have said that is good to go. So he will take the lead fairly easily, actually.
Goes for the lead. What was interesting is the steward had also mentioned IMSA rules. I didn't know that was legal in IMSA, to be honest. So
I was gonna say I figured those guys wouldn't try it, considering how fast they're going in that part of the track.
I mean, if you've ever watched the GTP drivers, they'll try driving on the ceiling if they think it'll make them faster. So who knows? But anyway, 13 minutes to go in this race. And Newell, Soto, Rice-Puto lead. Elliott Burton's had a nice job tonight, other than that little collision he caused. He's running very well. He's in this front pack. Camden Hibbett didn't quite time out his run previously. He was on the podium in race 1. I'm expecting him to take advantage of no Morgan Burkhardt here this week. I'd be shocked if he wasn't one of the top 2 in this race.
I think he definitely doesn't really have much of a choice but to take advantage of it, especially now that quite a few competitors are out. He can gain a lot of points, especially now there's only 6 drivers in this leading group. Court Schmidt's caught up, you see at the tail end there. So not a whole lot to lose, really, as far as the draft is concerned. So he can try to make a moves, plot where he needs to go without worrying about dropping down the order.
Andrew Gillen, we documented he's had a tough night, getting kind of shuffled out. But as low as 20th, back to 14th after starting 12th, so he's almost back to gaining positions. Problem is he's 4.5 seconds back from the next closest car, so still work left to do.
He's kind of in the middle of no man's land at the moment, so that's the unfortunate part.
And James Newell leading this race with the Barbie car. Easy to spot, a long ways away.
God, that's got to be so weird to drive a Mazda Miata with a Formula 1 style rim. I wouldn't know I was trying to do that just before we went live, and my brain just could not make it work.
I have, but out of necessity. But then again, I also
You've driven these things on an
Xbox controller, so I suppose
it did remarkably well.
I mean, honestly, I could probably use an Atari joystick, and it would probably be the same. So here comes Soto to the outside with help from Rice-Puto as we close in on the halfway point of this race. 11 minutes to go. 10 is our halfway point. And Newell was first out of NASCAR 4 and is now 4th.
Yeah, that's how quickly things change. Especially, I think you might see these guys make more riskier moves because there's a lot less of them. So I think you're going to see the aggression step up here, especially right near the end when they're all coming back to the line.
So about a 6-car breakaway at the moment. Court Schmidt right at the tail. And it's 3.3 back to Hayden Manis. So without a lot of chaos, I think Hayden's kind of in no man's land here. There is a small group behind Murphy Nichols, Jim Friedhofer, Bob Mueller Jr. Then it's mostly solo cars from there on out. Joshua Clatterbuck has come down pit lane. Looks like his race might be over.
Another one to the list.
So all the efforts will focus back up here on the race leaders, kicking up grass out of the West Horseshoe.
And then back into the braking zone, heading towards turn 6. And whoa, Soto is going to the parking lot. Way off line.
Oh, he's
almost in the wall. I'm not sure he did because he blinked out for a second. Let me double check. If he didn't, he got awfully close. He avoided it by a couple inches.
Yeah, it was a little close for me.
And I think, remember the thing we have to talk about too is with the update is the marbles. So if you go offline, you really lose quite a bit of grip. And I think that's kind of what we saw with Soto there, is that's why he went so far out to the wall. Not necessarily by choice, but here comes Newell taking advantage. Deep dive into the braking zone, and he'll get through before the chicane.
Yeah, I'm curious what the marble buildup would be like in a corner like that. You'd certainly see more marble. There's the beginning
Well,
of
there's
the
also
exit.
debris.
Yeah.
There's also some debris as well.
We saw a lot of that when I did a 4-hour race at Road Atlanta. There was marbles and debris and mud and dirt everywhere, but there's not that many cars on this track, and it's a big place, so I'd be curious to see how much material is being displaced. Either way, under 9 minutes to go. A little bit of jockeying for the top spot here, and Court Schmidt's watched all of it out the windshield at the moment.
Yeah, he's playing easy right now. He's saving everything up to the end.
Look at him. He's enjoying himself watching this chess match.
He's got a front row seat to the action.
You can just tell how much he's having fun.
He literally just said on the radio he's got the best seat in the house. I don't know if he's listening to this. He just said that on the radio as well.
Well, because he does. And he's going to be right in the thick of it here. He's got the best seat in the house to watch a movie he's going to be starring in a lap or two. Break that fourth wall, or I guess sixth wall at the moment. Up the inside of Elliott Burton. Nice shallow line there, leaving Elliott plenty of space, but
yeah, Kimi really tight. Might compromise his exit. He actually got a decent run. Burton got a little bit of grass as well, so that slowed him up, and it actually looks like he's going to yield. So Schmidt up to the top 5 for the first time this race.
Soto again running that really wide line, all in the name of carrying momentum, but he is running extra distance to do that. How much?
A decent breakaway with Bryce Futo. I'm not sure that's planned or not.
Yeah, well, see, Hibbett's going to give him a big shove there. You don't necessarily want the leader to break the draft, but you don't want to be right on top of him either. This is when you're going to start experimenting. Remember, we were a lap short of the estimation last time. I think we'll be in a similar spot here, where we'll shoot for about 9 laps rather than 10. These guys got to be ready to pounce a little sooner than they were last time.
Good to see Bryce Futo potentially testing the waters here. If he lays back a little bit more, then charges through the Lamar chicane and then back onto the oval. Does he have enough for a run? No, he's actually going to fan out a little bit.
Yeah, up in the triple digits. I mean, Camden's baseline is a lot higher than, or a lot lower rather than someone like Beans, for example. So we see a lot less fluctuation. Like Beans is at 128. That's basically his minimum, where we'll see Camden kind of sitting around 85. So when Camden's up in the triple digits, you know it's serious. Soto pulls right and lets Hibbett and Rice-Puto through.
I think you saw them experimenting with the slipstream, saying, aha, I'm going to put you in the lead.
No, this is very unlike a schoolroom environment where your teacher really doesn't want you to succeed at the thing you're learning. They won't let you do your homework.
No, not at all.
Rooting for failure of your students.
No, you're rooting for them for their success, but behind you.
Yes.
Less success.
Only success if it pushes me along.
Yeah.
So here's this teacher review. I want everyone to give me 5 stars. Up out of the Western Horseshoe, it's still 6 drivers. Burton's retaken 5th from Court Schmidt. Hayden Manis really wants to be a part of this fight, but he's going to be too far out of it, I think, with about 2 laps left to go.
I thought at one point he was starting to make some inroads on the guys up ahead. I thought maybe with them fighting, I might have him reeled them in a little bit, but it has expanded from about 3 seconds now nearly to 4, so he's definitely out of it at the moment, unless something catastrophic happens up here.
Soto's had some issues with blinking. For the uninitiated here in iRacing, that's an internet connectivity problem. When the car disappears, so does the draft. So it's not fun to be behind that car when you're trying to utilize it to move forward. Look at Hibbett, shallow line, chasing Rice-Puto to set himself up for a better exit.
And next time around, they should have 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I don't know why the estimation's off tonight. It's giving me an extra lap. But it will be too.
They're very optimistic about these cars.
Or I think well, they're expecting it to be slower, aren't they? Faster.
No,
you're
faster.
right, faster. That's why I don't do math anymore. So 4 minutes, 28 seconds, 2 laps left. Here comes Soto again. He just did an experiment that he could pass 2 cars in the last 300 feet of the track before the checkered flag, so he learned that just now. So did Hibbett, though, and so did Rice-Puto.
The thing is that, I thought we were going to stop 3 wide for a second. I think Newell thought about it. He backed off of it.
Ooh, I think Hibbett just caught the wall. I heard a scrape.
That was Burton that hit the wall, actually.
Look at Schmidt. Oh, he wants to go 3 to the inside of Newell.
Oh, and then a checkup from Hibbett pushed him back another spot. Now Schmidt's up to 3rd.
That was a great move by Court Schmidt. Again, everyone just kind of sort of biding their time. He's got a grin on his face. He just picked the pocket of a couple of those drivers.
Yeah, looks like he's actually going to back out from being side by side with Newell. Let him go 1 spot. Hibbett still trying to fight with Schmidt now for 4th place around the outside. Schmidt, a great run through the corner.
Don't think Hibbett counted on that. He just looked over to his right. A little bit of a look at disgust.
Whoa.
He does not want to be dealing with the battle for 4th right now. He's running out of time. He will get 4th place away, and Newell, Soto, Rice-Puto, 3rd, 2nd, 1st.
This is where it starts to get entertaining here. We're getting down to it here. About a lap and a half remaining. Yeah, already some moves on the outside. Soto up to the lead. Newell giving him the push. And he will also take 2nd place away from Rice-Puto.
Hibbett and Schmidt, looks like they're going to be a little bit of competition there. They're not going to make any big sudden moves into the bus stop. All single file here. Ooh, Hibbett, big understeer.
Oh, Schmidt also. Black flag for him. He's got to slow down.
Oh. And Burton is going to be trapped behind these two. One that got a poor exit, one that got a penalty. And this is just giving up time left and right to those front 3. And I think Hibbett is feeling the pressure now because he's going to only have one. Well, it's going to be close. 219, 218. Are we going to get the white? There it is.
I was going to say, I'll be surprised.
So this will be our final lap, but it is really close. Maybe the estimation's done on qualifying time or something.
Who knows?
Here comes Soto to the inside of Newell.
There he goes for the dive, and he will get it. And that checkup into turn 1 that allowed Hibbett and Burton to catch back up. Schmidt, I think, might be a little bit too far out of it unless there's another big checkup on the lap. Otherwise, it's 5 drivers fighting for the lead left.
Yeah, Hibbett is going to be really aggressive here. I don't think you want to be 4th. He's got the 6th that's going to be a pain in his side here to try to get back up to 1st or 2nd. He's not in the position he'd like to be. He would rather be 3rd than 4th, which sounds silly, because of course you would be. But just in terms of setting up your run to the end, I think P3 is about as good as you're going to win this race from.
Yeah, it looks like as it stands, Josh Soto's going to be the one leading in and out of the chicane, unless Newell really wants to take the spot, which I don't think so.
Unless Soto takes that really wide line again, or he hits the lag switch and ends up behind him. That's the real pro strats move there. But see, he's going to run really wide, and he's going to. So that was I think that was an intentional decision by Soto to compromise his exit. It's going to bottle everybody up. Someone will want to go by because they don't want to rest. Look, he's running the high lane. He's doing everything he can to get somebody to take the lead. Hibbett's going to go for it. He doesn't want to wait around and play the games. Look at the run he's got.
No one wants to be the leader up until we get to the line. So Soto letting Hibbett get on through. Now Hibbett's in the lead. Does he want? I don't think he wants it. Rice-Puto might be bullied into the lead with a push from Newell.
He's at the top.
Here comes Soto back on the outside.
Yeah, this is going to be a mess down here in the Le Mans chicane now. 3 wide for 2nd place, side by side. Nobody planned for this, and Hibbett gets turned in front of the field. He's going to get turned around backwards. His race is over. Now it's going to be a mad scramble. Here comes Court Schmidt to the inside. Where did he come from?
He came from absolutely nowhere. The shenanigans on the oval caused him to back up, and he got a fantastic run uninhibited through the chicane. Can Soto get any sort of slipstream to get past him?
Here we come out of NASCAR Turn 4. Court Schmidt's going to try to pick the pocket of somebody. Here comes Soto with a big run. Can Schmidt defend it? Checkered flag waving. Here comes the 77. Court's going to go up to block. Here comes Rice-Puto with the run at the stripe. 3 wide. It's going to be Soto. Then I think Rice-Puto stole it back from Schmidt. He's P3 by just 19 thousandths of a second. Woo. Wow.
That was intense.
That was cool. I don't think anybody saw that one coming.
No, not at all. I did say Schmidt might be a factor. There was a big checkup, and lo and behold, there was one.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Just picked center track, did all he could do. Probably could have defended the 0-3 a little bit more, but he was still focused on the 77. Yeah. But man,
he was very kind in that battle towards the line there. I got to give it to Schmidt. He could have thrown a block and a half, but decided to try to just keep it and disrupt the line as much as possible. And he hung on for third. Really solid finish regardless.
Yeah, unfortunately for the 132 at Camden Hibbett, only 12th in that last race. Did get it spun back around and beat Gilliland to the line for that 12th spot by just 0.08 of a second. And James Newell, we saw also kind of get caught up in that. He ended up 6th. Hayden Manis, top 5 after all that. And the top 3 covered by 0.06 of a second.
Yeah, fantastic job there. That was absolutely crazy. That was completely unpredictable by the end.
Well, I think what we saw Soto purposely drive up the racetrack leaving turn 6, and it just bottled everybody up. And then going side by side into the bus stop, nobody had that on their radar. So even if they had come out side by side, I don't think Soto or Hibbett really had much of a chance of winning that. It was actually the 132 getting spun that put it back in the pocket of the 77, because it launched Court to the lead, which put Soto in second with plenty of time to get back to the lead.
And then no one saw Court Schmidt at all through all that.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming for sure, but that was cool, right? I mean, that's what you hope for, is those wild card finishes. That's what Daytona can produce. There's a look at your top 10. Seth Spolman, Bob Mueller Jr. ended up there as well. Camden Hibbett, we documented down to 12th. Andrew Gillen, tough night for him. Just kind of some nights through the bat, some nights through the ball, and he got just hit out of the park a couple of times. All right, well, that was fun. Let's check out the last page here of results. We've got Court Schmidt waiting to talk to us there. Celine Roland, Dylan Lee, Henry Drury out with crash damage. Well, Court Schmidt tried to pick the pocket of a couple of drivers at the end there, Court. I mean, just chaos heading into the Le Mans chicane on the last lap. All of a sudden, here comes Court leading the race all the way back around to the tri-oval, and then you're just a sit and duck. Out of nowhere, you're running up in the top 5 by virtue of some other incidents, but just take us through that last lap. That was fun to watch.
And I'll tell you what, we were having a little bit of chatter back and forth, and there was some plotting going on, that's for sure. But once I saw that hole, all that went out the window, and I just went for it. So I knew being in the lead going on turn 3, right there, I knew I was not going to be in the lead, but it felt good while it lasted, at least. So.
Every time we come to Daytona, on any of these bigger drafting tracks, there's a lot of chess match that happens, right? And you were talking about all the, the plotting and planning that was going on. We saw Soto run out really, really wide. Took him and Rice Budo up the banking. It opens the door for Camden Hibbett. He wasn't waiting around for anybody. He wasn't going to play the games. He drives to the lead. I don't think anybody had side by side into the bus stop as something that could happen. We always think about, I'm going to be third, I'm going to be second, we'll figure it out. Not side by side. I think that's kind of where it all tripped up.
Yep. After watching Preston Pardis for, so many races, watching him pull the Pardis, as we call it, we always want to be third or fourth. So that was kind of the plan. I was like, I'll hang back. And then Camden slowed it up a couple times, and we started to see maybe a little practicing going on there, seeing how to exit the bus stop, and retain his spot. So I kind of saw that coming, and I knew everybody was going to get checked up behind him. And yeah, the hole opened up, and I was at speed, and I took it. So ton of fun.
And a podium for Court Schmidt tonight. Court, thanks so much. That was a fun evening, and we'll see you next week.
I practiced.
It almost was perfect. You have to get back to it, though.
Yep, practice makes podium. We'll take it. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks, Court. And Camden Hibbett finished out tonight in 12th spot. Camden, I know this is not where you wanted to finish race 2, but you still got a podium on the board. I want to talk about race 2 specifically, though, because it didn't really pan out the way any of us thought. Side by side into the bus stop. I don't think that was in the cards for anybody.
No, man, I hate this place. It is a very it takes a lot of the driving out of it. I'll just say that. It is an interesting place to race Miatas, because there really is no rhyme or reason. You don't have. The winner gets decided in the last half mile or so. None of the other, I think we did 8 laps tonight in both races, and really 7.5 laps don't matter. So it is an interesting place. Not my favorite, but it is what it is, and it's something that I definitely have to work on before we come back. But yeah, race 1, I saw what Hayden and James were doing up front, and I didn't really have any interest in it, so I backed out and just started riding around at the tail of the lead pack for a while, and then tried to get up towards the front of the pack, and just didn't play my cards right there out of the bus stop. Ended up P3, I think, and then race 2, I was just trying to be aggressive. I figured coming in second, I knew Nick was gonna have a good run from third, so I was just trying to clear, and my mindset coming down the backstretch was to force Josh into having to go wide, and maybe I'd get enough of a run out of the bus stop to be able to clear him, and get enough of a run to get far enough ahead where the draft wouldn't matter, and ended up turning myself across Josh's nose, which it's racing, it's unfortunate, but it's Daytona, and that was the aggressive move that I felt like I needed to make if I wanted a shot to go win, and it just didn't play out.
Well, podium points in race 1, P12 points for race 2. Camden, thanks for talking. I know it was a frustrating night, but appreciate the time as always, and we'll see you
Absolutely.
next week.
Thank you.
All right, let's chat now with Skip Brock Jr., who comes home in this second race, a little bit further down the order than he was hoping for, I am sure. But race 1 went pretty well. P2, Skip, good night. Take us through it, at least that first race.
Yeah, the first race was fun. I just knew I had to stay in the first, 5 or so cars till the end, like always. And so, problem is everyone was fighting. I mean, everyone wanted to be towards the front, so you just you can't not fight. So it just ends up being a constant battle. And I felt like I did a pretty good job just staying in the lead or near it. And I knew being in the lead, going through the bus stop was going to be difficult. I checked up a lot. And then I kind of tried to let Rice Puto by around the oval, thinking maybe I can side draft him back or get behind him even and then get him back. But he's too smart for that. So he bumped my bumper like once or twice and then passed me and timed it perfectly. And I'm getting deja vu because I think the same exact thing happened last time we were here.
Well, it was fun to watch you tonight. Lots of juking, jiving, and jollying around the high banks at Daytona. Fun night. Good to see you up there at the front battling all evening long, and it's got a great shot of you throwing it down there into turn 1. So congrats on the podium there in race 1, and some decent points to take away.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Skip. All right, we'll move on now to Nicholas Rice Puto, who comes home in second in race 2, but most importantly, first in race 1. Nicholas, tonight you were able to salvage 2 really solid finishes, which I think you're the only driver in my list that got podiums in both races, and one of them was a win. So pretty good night, all things considered, I'd have to say.
Yes, good momentum forward. We're going to start to look at the championship now and just keep getting those consistent finishes like I can do.
Daytona's a hard place to control your own destiny. How were you able to control yours a little better than everyone else's tonight?
Yeah, you just have to stay at the front. So if you have a chance to go for the lead, you go for it, and you just kind of keep cycling back first and third. If you could stay at the front, you'll have a chance at the end. So that's all I was trying to do.
Well, and you did it. First and second tonight, Nicholas. Thanks so much for talking. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. See ya.
And last but certainly not least, Joshua Soto from the last to first. That was the challenge tonight. 25th to start race 1. Got all the way to 5th at the tail end of that race, and then 5th to first in race number 2. Race 2 ended in a bit more dramatically than we thought, side by side through the bus stop. Take us through that last half mile of racing, because that was really where all the action was for you to win this race.
Oh yeah. The last half was all about positioning. Ended up getting into a third, 3-car situation going into the bus stop. It was really made everybody's lines just really complicated. So yeah, it's just I just tried to give enough space on the right side. The lines came together, and then that's pretty much the end of that.
Well, it was certainly a job well done, and you're going to pick up 5th and first place points tonight. So considering a lot of the drivers that were up in the front had a bad race, it's going to be a pretty solid evening for you. And I think looking across your season so far, I believe that you had missed the first round. So this is going to be a good points pickup and should vault you pretty conveniently into the top 10 as we head into round 4.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to have to focus a lot on getting points the rest of the season, as the first 2 races weren't I wasn't here for the first race, and then the second race I didn't have that many good points. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge.
Well, you're going to pick up some good points tonight. 5th and 1st, Josh. Thanks so much for talking. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And with that, that wraps up our podium interviews tonight. Man, Daytona. Does it ever disappoint in a SMX or Spec Miata or whatever you want to call it race? We have, of course, the Global MX-5 Series to watch this week. I always like watching it. Really, that series is just raw entertainment because I think as Camden pointed out, the chaos is sort of half the fun. And as a driver as a commentator that's generally in for the good racing, the chaos is sometimes a byproduct and not the main show. But this was a fun night of racing, and it's going to set us up pretty well for our racing at the Homestead Roval next week.
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff all around from these guys. Every time I come back for this group, usually one season if I'm lucky, always put on a great showing, some hard-fought racing, intense battles for all 40 minutes of on-track action that they have. So always glad to come back to see these guys put on a show and get some hard racing in.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Big thanks again to the partners and people that make it happen. Full Send Sims and Court Schmidt up on the podium. You see, practice makes podium. Well, Court did practice, and he did get a podium. So Full Send Sims, check him out. 3P Logistics and Frank Rodriguez and their trackside services. Same with Final Turn Motorsports and their amazing prep shop. Wine Country Motorsports and their racing gear and equipment and supplies. Make sure you check them out for being a longtime supporter of Full Send Sims. And Farah, offering racing around the Southeast region, but they've expanded to the rest of the nation this season. So make sure you check them out as a spectator or as a competitor. Farah, thanks for their support for this championship. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next week from another Central Florida racetrack. We'll be at Homestead, Miami next week.